Welcome to the Midwest Nowhere podcast. My name is Scott Thompson. I am your host. Thank you for joining me again. You know, it's Sunday night of my weekend off, and this is just what we do. So before I get into it too deep, for those who are new, explain to you what Midwest Nowhere is. Obviously, podcast. We run a music archive for stuff that I've worked on over the years and a lot of other little things along the way. But yeah, based out of West Central Minnesota, and kind of just try to create a place for people to talk about awesome records, people to check out what it is that we've been making out here for 20-ish years. And yeah, that's pretty much what we do. This episode in particular is dedicated to the life and memory of Travis Dopp. Travis John Dopp was a guitarist and founding member of Small Brown Bike. He passed away December 13th of 2023 after a courageous battle with cancer. He was diagnosed stage 4 colon cancer in September of 2020. Travis pursued both conventional and holistic treatments, demonstrating resilience and determination throughout his journey. His openness about his health challenges and his unwavering spirit resonated deeply with fans and the whole music community. In a heartfelt statement, Small Brown Bike honored his legacy by saying, "If you were lucky enough to know Trav, you know that he was an extraordinary, energetic force, standing by his side on stage or in life. It felt like having a superpower." I know I've got friends like that too. Travis's contribution to the band's sound and ethos was profound, and his memory continues to inspire. The band and his loved ones remember him not only for his musical talents, but for his warmth, his humor, and his unwavering support. His enduring message from the song, "The Sound of Joy," encapsulates his outlook. In that song, the quote, he says, "Be thankful and grateful for this life. Repeat the sound of joy." If you were to visit many of the social media accounts affiliated with Small Brown Bike, I'm trying to remember which one in particular it was that I saw it on. It might have been the Old Point Light, because that was kind of his Midwest Nowhere, or his, like, I used to, we had Disc Mill Records for years, and I kind of equated kind of what we were doing with what Travis did with Old Point Light. And there's a video on one of those channels that is him playing this song that he wrote before he passed, called "The Sound of Joy." And it's just a raw video of him playing it in his barn before he passed. And it's powerful stuff. And I, in particular, make it a point to talk about Travis and to bring him up and to dedicate this episode to him before I get into all of it, even though he didn't play on this record in particular, but he was, a founding member and just a cornerstone to the whole network of bands and people who were in Small Brown Bike. And he was somebody who personally I had a small connection with. I have tried over the years to email or get in touch with different musicians over the years that I really draw inspiration from. And when I was back, what are we talking about, like 2017, 2018 or so, I was trying to take Disc Mill Records kind of from an idea to like a functioning, like, let's put out records, let's see if this is a functional idea, let's see what we can do with it. I knew Travis was running Old Point Light as kind of a label, but also a media company, also just kind of an outlet for all the things that he was into. And I really resonated with that, with what I was trying to do with Disc Mill Records. And I sent him a few messages. I think it was just through Instagram Messenger, honestly. And he got back to me. Like, we had a few exchanges on there. And it was just so inspiring to me. And it just really made me feel like what I was doing was important. And he made me feel like I could do what I wanted. Like that there weren't really any barriers. I just had to stay focused and set my goals and go after them. And it was helpful. It was really helpful, and I felt really blessed by that. There was a time a couple of years after that too that Kaylin and I were in Michigan. We took a train to see the Kings of Leon, knowing Small Brown Bikes from Michigan and all that sort of stuff. I just, on a whim, just sent him a message and was like, hey, we're staying in this area. I can't remember the name of the town that we stayed in when we were there. It was pretty far north of Detroit, kind of in the center of the mitten, from the UP and then the mitten. We were like kind of dead center. And I just sent him a message and was like, hey, we're in your neck of the woods. Where should we go? What should we see? He absolutely got back to me like within minutes with a checklist of like, oh yeah, man, you're in this area. You should totally see this, that, whatever. It's like, it was really cool. I thought that was really special that, he was willing to get back to me and answer that. And when he announced his diagnosis, I shared his GoFundMe and stuff like that a lot and cheered him on a lot. And it was, obviously not as hard as it would be for those friends and family that were there, but just to have any connection with him at all and have such respect for his body of work. I mean, the stuff that he worked on was just, I think, some of the greatest records made, some of the best songs made. Some of the passages that he delivers vocals on for Small Brown Bike, they're some of the most powerful passages in my lifetime of listening to music. I mean, I loved this guy's work. And so him passing it was really sad. And I really felt for those guys in that band, just knowing what it's like to have best friends, growing up with your best friends and playing songs with your best friends, and to lose one of your brothers like that. It's like, oh, man, I just couldn't imagine what they were going through. And to see them carry on afterwards so strongly and so in such a humble and just with the work ethic that they have, I got a lot of respect for these guys overall, and wanted to start this whole thing off with just dedicating it to Travis. So from there, we'll go ahead and get into our usual routine. So updates from the last couple of weeks, things I've been working on. I've got more links updated. If you find the Linktree for Midwest Nowhere now, you'll find my Linktree. Attached to that, you'll find the Robin Hood Hills and JT Fremont's. I built both of those as well. So it's getting networked out. I still have more links to update and things of that nature, but getting Sexennial Rex out, promoting that a bit, and really wanting to get everything just accessible and visible from as simple of a standpoint as possible. Like, I know what it's like to really be looking for something, or to just like imagine you're a person who would stumble across, say, this music that we work on or this podcast or anything like that, and they just can't even figure out how to find it. Like, I would hate for anybody to get lost or fall through the cracks because of that. So I'm really trying to make it I'm trying to make the Midwest Nowhere Linktree like a one-stop shop for everything that's going on, and make it so that people can investigate on their own, but have an easy place to find everything. We got clearance from Benno to release his catalog, getting together a couple weeks ago, and I just asked him again, like, hey, be happy to put the record out, get the single back out, stuff like that, with Belly Up. I think there might be a couple other stragglers too, I'm not sure, but I'll go through my hard drive and see what I have, and he said he was cool with that. So stay tuned for that. As far as what's on deck for releases, obviously Benno's record, the catalog, or the collection of songs released between 2009, or recorded between 2009 and 2014. It's a CD that Discmill Records put out, and we had it digitally available while that label was functioning. There's still a lot of those CDs around too, and we're just kind of trying to figure out a way to get them into the hands of the people who want them, find a good way to share them around, stuff like that. So, but then there's his single Belly Up for sure. That was, we jammed it a little bit at the Swenoda practice. We just, it was the first time that Tyler's touched drumsticks since December, you know, and he was feeling comfortable and confident enough to give it a shot, and it went well. We got through, I don't know, 4 or 5 songs, and you know, in talking about Benno's stuff, he played Right Kind of Man, and he played a little bit of Belly Up, and we just kind of jammed it with him and just had fun with it. And we were really just kind of, for me anyway, I was just kind of trying to create some space for Tyler to just like feel it out, see how his health was going to be with getting back in the saddle. And he said that he could tell that he needed to pace himself, but that he felt okay and he felt good. So it's one of those muscles that's going to need some work, but there's progress. As far as Swenoda goes, buckle up, buddy, because I think once he really gets to feeling good and gets his confidence back and we get back locked in with the routine, we've got people reaching out to us for shows. There's a great place in Atwater, I think they said it's called the Handlebar, that people have been asking us if we would go play there. And the Minnesota Beer Company, that's a brew pub. Well, they kind of like, they brew their own, but they also like, they host a lot of local brews and stuff like that. And they basically just turn this like gas station into a kind of a bar hangout space. There's like arcade machines in there. I think there's a Mortal Kombat arcade machine. I know there's a Simpsons machine in there. It's awesome. And they were like one of the first places they were advertising that they were looking for bands to play. And we jumped at it, and they booked us last year every other month for the whole year. And that was like our first taste of anything that you would equate to like a residency or something like that. And it just was a really nice thing for us to have a consistent place to play, to get to dial in our live sound, to people knew where to find us. We were able to move on and start setting up a little merch table, stuff like that. Like it's a really good developmental place for us, and those guys are just so nice, and we really appreciate the opportunities. And they offered us a couple gigs. They know our situation, but I think they just wanted to offer to see how we were feeling. And we're going to get together tomorrow and talk about a couple of gigs that we might take from them. Shall remain to be seen. Other stuff that's on deck to be released. Talking about JT Fremont's album Heron that's never been released. We discussed that some more, and just how Jake was really feeling like we sat on it too long. He really likes it. He always overanalyzed it, and then getting some space away from it and going back and listening to it is like, dude, this record sounds great. Yeah, me and Anthony kind of started the production on that, and then I kind of took the helm and just finished it up. But it was like that painting that you could never finish because you could never quit adding and subtracting and kind of playing with, and then eventually just became confused as far as what it was or what it should be. And so yeah, that was good. His single Out of Touch that was on the Discmill Records Sampler Volume 1, I'm going to pump that back out to the world on his DistroKid account. And we have yet to analyze his live set from Morris. The night that Alpha Wayne James played, I recorded his set as well. And I remember it sounding pretty good. So we're going to check that out again and see if I can maybe crank that out for him. I personally have 3 singles I need to get in order. Miles, and then 2 others that are in like some open tunings that I kind of goofed around with when I first launched the idea and filed the LLC for Midwest Nowhere. There was a video on this channel that I just attached a couple of short tunes I kind of wrote quickly in an open tuning that I've since gone back to and decided that I really do like and wouldn't mind sharing at all. We might rework them a little bit. I'm going to have my wife listen to them and see if we want to add anything to them or if we're just going to leave them acoustic and vocal and keep it simple. But I've got a couple singles in the works. But yeah, that's about it for those releases. Other releases, this episode and the research for it really kind of spun me off into a lot of directions I didn't expect to go. One of them was that I got to a point where I was finding records that aren't digitally distributed out. Maybe they were just on YouTube, or maybe they were just on Bandcamp or on a website or something like that, but they weren't on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the different, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, the plethora of online streaming sources that DistroKid distributes to. Now, these are artists that are definitely out of my realm. Like, I don't expect necessarily to hear back from any of them, but for the cool people who listen to this show, I'll let you know that I sent emails off to Jeff Rickley. He's the lead singer of Thursday, and he's got 2 mixtapes that are up on Bandcamp, and they're nowhere else. And I'm just like, why? So you can send a direct message through Bandcamp. Whether anybody actually is receiving that, whether it'll be read, whether it'll be responded to, big what ifs. But you know what? I sent Jeff an email, and I was just like, look, man, I love this mixtape. I love the second one. I would love to digitally distribute these for you if you're interested. Basically, kind of laid out like a really simple. If Midwest Nowhere ever recovers profits, then for your streaming revenue, we'd split all profits after that 50-50. If we break even on our costs or whatever. Just really simple, and just being like, get back to me if you're interested. So I sent that to Jeff Rickley. I sent it also to the Great Sea Serpents, which is a Small Brown Bike side project that I have been searching for since they came out. It was a Small Brown Bike hiatus that Ben, the bass player, he plays guitar in it and he sings. And it was, around Chicago area. And I had heard that they existed. That was all I knew. That's all I've ever known. And every once in a while, I'll just do a little digging, seeing if I can find anything. And I've never found it anywhere. And just the stars aligned. The research I was doing for this episode, I found their EP on Bandcamp. And I listened to it, and I was like, it's awesome. Like, it's the opening track is kind of goofy, but the rest of it is like, it has that same post-hardcore like seriousness, the darker tones and everything, and it rocks. It's great, and it's well done. It's recorded well. Like, it's awesome. And again, it's like nowhere. You can't hear it anywhere but there. And it came out in like 2007. Like, this thing is ancient. Like, I can imagine there's very few people trying to find it. So I thought, what the heck? It's on Bandcamp. Again, direct message. Boom. I sent it there. I just said, hey, if that's something you're interested in, I'd be happy to put it out for you. It's not going to cost you nothing, and see what you say. I found Ben on Instagram as well. I sent a message directly to Ben, and I prefaced it like, I don't know if anybody checks the Great Sea Serpents Bandcamp page, but I want you to know I came across this. I really like the record, and I'd be happy to just pump it out there for you guys. What was the last one? Oh, and Skeleton DMD. See, Skeleton DMD was a band that, like, again, in the cahoots of Small Brown Bike people, and they've got at least the EP Dirt Riders and the record Body Double. There's an early 7-inch too that I've seen on Discogs. But it's on YouTube from random people uploading it. It's on this one website that from my research, they have operated like a label in the past, but it's very like hit or miss whether they get stuff done or not. They kind of do it when they feel like it type of thing. And you can't find Skeleton DMD on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, whatever. So I was just like, I sent a message to that label and was just like, hey, I really love these records. I don't know how to get in touch with these guys because they have basically no information anywhere. But if you guys don't want to do this, I would love to do it and pay for it and just put it out there so people can find it. That'd be my contribution to humanity because I think it's great. So all of that basically has me saying, like, my DistroKid account, I can release up to 100 artists and the bill's the same. Right now, I'm only using 6 of my slots. So if I come across something that I'm really interested in and it's not out, I'm definitely open to putting out more music for people and helping with, promotion and just preserving it. It's not an archive if you're not archiving anything. So it's been pretty cool to find some like obscure side projects that maybe there are people out there who care about it, but not enough to necessarily host it. And I'm like, I would be your guy. I would host it. So we'll see if anything comes from it or not, but it's just a little side quest I'm working on. Other things going on Midwest Nowhere wise. The last thing would be the record store. So it's garage sale season. We're in our house, we're big junkers. We like going to antique shops and thrift stores and all that sort of jazz. And recently there's a dude in Benson who I bought. I haven't counted them, but if I flipped through one of the boxes and there was 2 boxes of records, a small box of 45s and 8 tracks, and then a whole case like this of 8 tracks. And one box was 50. So we'll say I bought 100 records, maybe 38 tracks, and a dozen 45s for $50, right? I started to go through them and realized that some of them, though I don't know what they are or they might not be up my alley, there's some value there. So I've ordered a stack of LP mailers and they're not here yet. But when they get here, I'm going to be listing these records on... I have a eBay store for Midwest Nowhere. I did some selling some antiques and some records and some strange stuff, some coins, like some different things over the last years. And I operated through Midwest Nowhere as like another one of the things that we do is just like reselling stuff. But I've pretty much run out of things like inventory. So I kind of just like did it when I had stuff and then I don't really seek stuff out and I haven't really found a niche. But reselling vinyl could really be a thing that needs to be done. Like if I'm finding stacks of records that people are willing to get rid of for a little bit of cash that they need, and there's value there because people want them in their personal collections, I gotta serve the people, so stay tuned for that. There's going to be a link in the Linktree. I'll definitely be posting about it when I get to the point that I have listings started, but they're probably going to be auctions, and I'm just going to start them low and let them go to what they go, and be willing to, let them go for whatever they sell for. But it wouldn't be a lot to break even, and any extra money that comes in from it would support the channel. So there's going to be a Midwest Nowhere record store. I don't expect there to be anything fancy, like as far as a lot of the records we're talking about. But resale is interesting. And the stuff that people want to throw away at garage sales and stuff like that, I'm a junk hunter. So stay tuned for that too. It's been another busy couple of weeks. We've done a lot of good stuff, and the family's been busy, and I've been taking some time off and using some vacation time this last couple of weeks. So it's been kind of nice to be able to work on some of this stuff and get the yard in order for springtime. And teenage stepdaughter got confirmed. So another member of the church. And yeah, life is good, man. Life is really good. We'll be heading to Grove City tomorrow for another Swenoda meetup tomorrow. So on that note, I think it's time to get into our deep dive here. So we're talking about Small Brown Bike. We're talking about Dead Reckoning. Preface, as far as like a personal story goes, I remember the first time I heard Small Brown Bike because I was talking mad crap about them. We used to practice, the Richards, I should say who we is. When I was in 9th and 10th grade, I was going to Jake's, my cousin's place in DeGraff to practice in the garage. And I think in the colder weather, we went in the basement sometimes. And they could drive and I couldn't drive yet. So I would ride with them and they would play a lot of different kinds of music. I mean, being in the Richards for me was just like this kind of never ending culture shock. And I used to call it that too, because they would introduce me to people who were older than they were all 2 years older than me, right? So I was already like getting exposed to a lot of different music and different social circles than I knew of. But then they were friends with people and had siblings who were even older than that. So then they would show me even crazier stuff, like, you know, the guys in the Richards or whatever, they're showing me Dillinger 4 and you know, Screeching Weasel and 15 and stuff like that. But then we're going to hang out with people they know, and they're listening to stuff like Shellac and Fugazi and stuff. And it's just like, what is this stuff, man? It's like, it was really crazy. It was like music I never heard of, and I really appreciated those times because it kept me on my toes, you know, and I would fly off the mouth because I'm just like a natural like trash talker, you know, and I think I'm funny all the time. So I remember the first time that we must have been in Jake's Mazda, and I don't remember if it must have been Snoop, I think he put in, because we'd been listening to At the Drive-In, and I remember he took that out and I think he put this in, and it made it like 30 seconds in the first song. I was like, God, this stuff is so depressing. How do you guys listen to this? You know what I mean? I just said something like, so just like, wow, you're a dummy. But like, I was like, everything you guys put on just makes me want to kill myself. It's so depressing. I can't believe you guys listen to this garbage. And here, I've got my headphones on. I'm listening to like The Starting Line and Yellow Card and Newfound Glory and stuff. And I'm just like, what is this? And, you know, not long goes by, and before you know it, once they would introduce a record, it was usually like, okay, let's try and learn something off of it. And whenever they would make me learn something off of one of these records, it always was like a shut your mouth kind of situation, because it's like I would realize the beauty of it, the challenge of it, the skill and the art of it when you would try and recreate it. And my knowledge, and please, if you're a Richards person or if you were around in that time period, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain that what we were trying to play was Sleeping Weather. I feel like Adam had tabbed out most of that song, and we tried to play it. We never did work it into a Richards set. It never made it into regular rotation. I don't even know if we ever played it for anybody. But I absolutely remember Brody playing that drum line, and Snoop had those chords down. And I remember reading those lyrics a lot. So, like I say, brain's a little murky, but we did try. Once it got to that point, I remember going to Extreme Noise for the first time. And we had gone to see the Selby Tigers and Cadillac Blindside. And we got in a car accident on the way to the show. Got T-boned by somebody running a red light. Or maybe we ran it. I don't remember. But I remember we didn't make it to the show. We had to stay at one of our buddy Adam's relatives down there. Came and swooped us up and brought us to a grocery store to get something to eat, and went and crashed out for the night. And we were able to hit Extreme Noise in the morning on there before we had to go back, which was like super cool, because they'd all talked about this store, but I'd never been there. And I had no idea what I was looking for. And I can walk into Extreme Noise today and be like, yeah, I recognize about a tenth of what you guys carry, because it's just this ever-evolving hardcore punk, metal. Just like everything underground, everything with an edge. I mean, Extreme Noise is like volunteer run, and it's just like, that's a record store. I mean, those people have been making that place work. Billy from Dillinger 4 owns the place, to my knowledge. I need to do, in one of these episodes, I'll have to get into Extreme Noise a bit more, because this is just off the dome. But yeah, volunteer run record store, Lake Street, Minneapolis, still open, mind you. And I remember going and not recognizing hardly anything on the shelves, but they had a copy of Dead Reckoning on CD, so I bought it. And once I had the lyric sheet and I had my headphones at home, I was like memorizing the thing, just loved it. And I fell in love with their entire catalog, and I have followed them my entire life since. And I still listen to them on a very regular basis. And I have tried to dive into every side project, because I just find these guys very special. So with that being said, a more proper biography, Small Brown Bike is a post-hardcore melodic punk band from Marshall, Michigan. They formed in the mid-1990s and are known for their emotionally intense, dual vocal style, driving, anthemic songs. Their sound blends a raw energy of punk and melodic and introspective elements, and they're often compared to bands like Hot Water Music or Early Against Me. I don't know who compares them to Early Against Me, but they're wrong, and that's weird. And so is Greg for saying so. But I'll give you Hot Water Music. But you can't. It's hard to compare them to anybody else. They've got a really interesting interpretation of how they do. You can call it post-hardcore, call it post-punk, whatever you want to call it. It's a real strange melodic rock that they do, and they do it real well, and it's really genuine. It's just really genuine stuff. So I wanted to do like a streamlined history of their members and how the lineup changes happened, because I thought Travis was on this record, the guitar player and vocals, but he's not. But he was a founding member, as well as Mike Reed and Ben Reed, they're brothers. Mike plays guitar, Ben plays bass, and then Dan Jaquint, I think that's how I'm going to pronounce it. He was a founding member, and he did play drums on this record as well. The original lineup, they did the No Place Like You 7-inch in 97, the And Don't Forget Me 7-inch in 98. Our Own Wars came out in 99, and then they did a collection of all that early stuff that also came out in 99. But there was a guitar player change from 99 to 2002. Travis stepped away from the band in 99, and Scott Flaster replaced Travis on guitar. He was on Dead Reckoning. There's also a 7-inch that was a split with Cursive, and then he toured during that time period. There was also a drummer change in 2002. Dan, the original drummer, left, and there was a guy named Jeff Gensterblum. He was in a band called Thoughts of Ionesco, which that name keeps coming up in all this research too, and they're one I haven't checked into yet, but homework is due on Thoughts of Ionesco. But yeah, he started playing drums for him in 2002, and then Travis came back. Scott took off, and then they did the Nail Yourself to the Ground EP in 2003 and the full length The Riverbed, which had their biggest like single type song that ever happened. Gosh, wish I could remember the name of that song. Well, anyways, there's a video from a song off that record, off of the Riverbed. But they disbanded after that in 2004. They went on hiatus for 5 years until 2009. So Mike Reed and Dan Jaquint, the founding drummer, went on to form LaSalle with Mike's wife playing bass. Ben Reed went on to play in the Great Sea Serpents. And then Mike, Ben, Jeff, who filled in on drums for Small Brown Bike in that time period, and Nathan Ellis from the Casket Lottery. Those dudes are Abel Baker Fox, which is its other own can of worms. There will be episodes on Abel Baker Fox. My knowledge, they've only got 2 albums. That first one, there are some cookers on that record. It's fantastic. But Small Brown Bike got back together in 2009, and they're considered still like not broken up. It's just like this kind of unofficial, just they do what they want when they want to. And it's all of the original founding members. They released a couple 7-inches. The composite, they called them. Volume 1 was in 2009, and Volume 2 came out in 2010, and then in 2011 they gave us Fell and Found, which is their most like highly produced, beautiful rendition of their style, just masterfully caught. It's like they finally captured it and were able to reproduce how we all knew they sounded, but it didn't always translate because it's the genre, it's in the medium and the money and all that sort of stuff, you know. But yeah, they continue to play shows and occasionally record. They maintain that classic configuration up until, like you say, we're not necessarily including now with Travis passing away, but that was kind of the gist of where things were. So I was like, what's up with this hiatus, right? Because I knew it happened. Obviously, I noticed that they stopped being around because I only saw them once, and then they kind of disappeared. But I never had a good opportunity to look into it. So Small Brown Bike announced their breakup in 2004, citing personal reasons and challenges of balancing band life with personal aspirations. This quote right here just blew my mind. In the statement from punknews.org, the band expressed the decision that was difficult but necessary for personal happiness. They acknowledged that the timing was unfortunate, especially after releasing their new record and beginning a relationship with Lookout Records, but it felt like the right choice for themselves and everyone involved with the band. In 2016, interview with WMUK Radio, this was the quote. Bassist Ben Reed elaborated on the circumstances leading to the breakup. He explained that the band found themselves in middle ground success, where they were successful enough to be consistently busy, but not enough to sustain a living. That's the thing. That's the whole thing with how many bands. And how many bands will suffer and struggle, and how many will just say enough is enough, we're going to do what we want to, but we can't live on the road and have no money and never be able to have a family and never be able to have a wife and a home because of what is your big justification for making yourself suffer? The art's too important? I don't know, but I haven't heard anybody say this. And I was so proud of Ben for being honest, because there's like these illusions about the music industry, and they're horrible. And I really hate them. I hate what they do to the kids. I still see them now. I talk to kids about the music industry and stuff like that. And I'm like, make your records and have fun. Learn how to record, learn how to write, have a good time, but don't get this big head, you're better than anybody else. Don't get this big head, you're going to take over the world type of nonsense. It's like, even those people keep 5% of what they earn. Label keeps 95%. That's majors. Minors, 70-30. Come on, man. You can't. You got to get real, and you got to make the music you love, and you got to do it to the best of your ability. Like that Rick Rubin interview. He says, what are we doing? We're making an offering for God. And then you let the chips fall where they do. But that's why you always try your best in your writing, in your performance, in your recording, your master recordings. It's not because it's going to do anything except for you're trying to perfect your craft. And the result, the piece you have in front of you is offering to God. That's it. That's the only point. And I'm like, that's worth it, right? But the rest of it is nonsense. And for him to say here, they were successful enough to be consistently busy, but not enough to sustain a living. It's just like, what do you do? You know, and okay, so you're going to raise your rates? You're going to try and raise your ticket prices? You might put yourself out of business. Or the market might respond. That's tricky, and it ain't fun. And then what do? You take less work. And that's essentially what they did, was they took the route of, we'll just take less work then. Well, they went and established careers for 5 years, and then they, could get homes and families and all that sort of stuff established. And then you can play when you want to. You can do what you want. You can make the records you want to. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be a household name. But who cares? Who gives? I mean, household names fade away anyway. It doesn't matter. The families you build, the legacies you have with your children and your career and your home, your empire, you know what I mean? Like that stuff, that's worthwhile. Caring to what extent you are considered successful by anyone else, absolutely foolish. It's a loser's game, man. I'm with them on that. I respect their decision on that. He also said that the situation made it challenging to maintain the life outside of the band, leading to a decision to disband after a particularly exhausting tour. I don't blame you, man. Despite the breakup, the members remain close friends and continue to support each other in their other musical endeavors. They reunited in 2007 for a series of benefit shows and officially reformed in 2009, releasing new music and decided to perform together again. So then, 2007 till present, with the intermittent activity, they were associated with No Idea. Like No Idea Records is like, how much have we talked about No Idea Records? But Lookout Records was a label that came up too. And I just don't know anything about Lookout, and I feel like I need to figure out who else is on that roster. But give you a little rundown on Lookout. They're a seminal, so they're out of business. They were a seminal independent punk label founded in 1987 by Larry Livermore and David Hayes in Laytonville, California. Initially rooted in the DIY ethos and the Bay Area punk scene, the label later relocated to Berkeley and became a cornerstone in the East Bay punk movement. The label gained predominance by releasing influential albums by such bands as Operation Ivy, Green Day, Screeching Weasel, The Mr. T Experience, and The Queers. So there's a scene, and that's not Small Brown Bike scene. That's odd, but that might have just be kind of where they started too. Green Day's early releases, including 39/Smooth and Kerplunk, were pivotal in both the band's rise, and it helped the label succeed. That makes sense. Throughout the 90s, Lookout was known for its vibrant roster and a commitment to punk's DIY principles. However, in the early 2000s, the label faced challenges, including financial difficulties and departure with some key bands over royalty disputes. In 2005, Green Day and several other artists withdrew their catalogs, citing unpaid royalties, which significantly impacted the label's viability. Well, if you're not being honest, you don't deserve to be viable. Despite efforts to restructure, Lookout Records ceased operations in 2012, leaving behind a legacy that significantly shaped the punk rock landscape. For a deep dive into the label's history, you might explore Larry Livermore's memoir, How to Run a Record Label, but it's the word ruin with I in parentheses. So there you go. Could be a good read. Offering a insider's perspective on Lookout Records and their rise and fall. So next section's about the sound. So Small Brown Bike's kind of known for like a gritty dual vocal sound, often shouted or sung. They would put the bass player in the middle, and you would notice that there was a certain like group of bands that all kind of did this. Cadillac Blindside did this. Hot Water Music still does this, and it's where they'd have two singers and they'd have the bass player in the middle. And it creates this, like, sometimes they harmonize, sometimes there's like a call and response type of thing. The Robin Hood Hills tried to emulate this a handful of times. Really just a distinct kind of way of presenting yourself on stage. Noted thing to note too is that Small Brown Bike in the early material, especially this record, they feature that same kind of vocal we talked about in the Hot Water Music episode, the cough drop vocal, where it just sounds like you've been chewing on gravel forever. So it might be like sung, but there's so much dirt on it that it just sounds like gravelly, like a cough drop vocal. But later they sang a lot more. And when they mix it, I mean, it's a really, really beautiful result. The lyrics often explore personal struggle, reflection, and resilience. They have a strong DIY ethic and underground credibility. They've been influential in the post-hardcore and emo scene, especially for fans of heartfelt punk with a raw edge. Other bands to investigate, as Small Brown Bike is not currently active, but the members are active in other projects. 84 Tigers. So 84 Tigers is like the newest one, and it's Mike and Ben with a drummer from the band The Swellers. LaSalle's got a couple of really great records I mentioned before. It's Mike and Dan Jaquint with Mike's wife playing bass. Abel Baker Fox is that Casket Lottery collaboration. Dan Jaquint's in another band called Kind Beast, and they've had some consistency with getting a record out and playing some shows and doing some good work too. I haven't dove into them a whole lot yet, but the little bit that I heard was pretty cool. Kind of more straight up rock and roll, a little less punk, but different guys altogether. It's just Dan's the only Small Brown Bike member that's in that. And then, yeah, this odd side project from the hiatus period from 2004 to 2009 that Ben played in The Great Sea Serpents. So those are some bands definitely worth your time if you want to get into the kind of network of bands that are associated with Small Brown Bike. Dead Reckoning is the second full-length album by Small Brown Bike, released in 2001 through No Idea, and it's their most recognized, one of their most recognized records, and solidified their place in the post-hardcore and emo scenes in the early 2000s. The album showcases the band's signature blend of emotional intensity, melodic hooks, and punk-infused energy. Some notable aspects about Dead Reckoning. As far as musical style, the album mixes elements of post-hardcore, melodic punk, and emo. It features tight driving rhythms, raw, emotive lyrics, and a balance of both quieter and reflective moments, as well as more aggressive and fast-paced sections. The lyrics delve into some themes of personal struggle, disillusionment, and emotional complexity. They convey a sense of introspection with a raw honesty that resonates with fans of emo and post-hardcore. Dead Reckoning received critical praise for its earnest songwriting, emotionally charged delivery, and its ability to stand out amongst a burgeoning post-hardcore, and emo scene. It remains a fan favorite and is a key part of Small Brown Bike's legacy. Whew, that's a mouthful. But yeah, that's, I think, one of the things that really always made me love them so much is that I have yet to find a band that I put on and I go, oh, these guys, like, nobody copies them. They weren't copying anybody else directly. You could try and draw some parallels to some other bands, especially the bands like I No Idea and stuff like that, but they created this color for themselves, and it's just very unique. And I think that's tough in this genre of music too, because there are so many bands that just kind of seem to pick a formula and follow it, whether it's soft verses with breakdowns and stuff like that, or if it's like real pop punky. You know, how many of those like emo type pop punk bands all really kind of just sound the same? And I mean, there might be some that are really great too, but you can't say they reinvented the wheel or anything like that. There's just a lot of people kind of role playing each other and their influences and all that sort of stuff, and we all do to a certain degree. But I would give the guys in Small Brown Bike the credit that they took some of those things, but what the result was, I have not heard and have not yet heard since. Just in my opinion. So I wanted to get into the title of the album. Sometimes they're kind of obvious, but I don't know what Dead Reckoning means. And so the term Dead Reckoning comes from navigation, specifically maritime and aerial. It is a method of estimating one's current position based on a previous known position using speed, time, and direction, without any external references like stars or GPS. It's not exact, but and small errors can compound over time. But it's like your dead reckoning that if you're going this fast, you're going in that direction, this amount of time, you should be there. And so there you go. In the context of the album, though, naming the album Dead Reckoning carries a metaphorical weight. Small Brown Bike often explore themes of uncertainty, emotional navigation, internal conflict, and the struggle to find direction. By using this title, they might be suggesting trying to move forward without a clear map, relying on memory, instinct, and experience to get through life, and the danger of drifting off course when you know that you're just estimating where you're going. It captures an emotionally intense way of trying to get through the chaos. And sometimes the album's raw vocals, driving guitars, and intense lyrics definitely reflect that. Dead Reckonings, being that it's Small Brown Bike's second album. This is about the recording. So it was recorded in the fall of 2000 at the Red House, a place called Red House Recordings in Eudora, Kansas. And the session was engineered and mixed by Ed Rose, a producer who's known for his work with bands like the Get Up Kids and Coalesce, which I love the Get Up Kids. I don't know that much about Coalesce, but I know that if anybody was kind of in their realm too, like I mentioned, Hot Water Music, Coalesce gets a little nod there too. The album was subsequently mastered at a place called Signal to Noise in Ontario, Canada, Toronto. The collaboration with Ed Rose and the choice of the Red House recording contributed to the band's polished yet emotionally intense sound, marking a significant evolution in the band's musical journey. The Red House Recording Studio is a renowned recording facility located in Eudora, Kansas, near the college town of Lawrence. Owned and operated by the producer and engineer Ed Rose, the studio became a pivotal site for Midwest emo, post-hardcore, and indie rock in the mid-90s and the early 2000s. Originally established in Lawrence in 1989, the Red House moved to Eudora in 1997. Under Ed's guidance, it became a creative hub for numerous bands. Artists such as the Get Up Kids, Colesk, the Appleseed Cast, Motion City Soundtrack, and Small Brown Bike recorded their seminal works there. Notably, Small Brown Bike's Dead Reckoning was recorded there in 2000. So that was a big record for him. So some more information on that studio because it has changed names. In 2003, Ed Rose, alongside with members of the Get Up Kids, purchased and renovated the studio, and they rebranded it Black Lodge Recording. The name pays homage to the mysterious setting from the TV series Twin Peaks. The renovation includes significant upgrades to the equipment and the facility, enhancing its appeal to both local and national acts. Despite the changes, the studio maintained its reputation as a cornerstone for regional music. Ed Rose has worked on a ton of influential records, especially in the Midwest emo, pop punk, and post-hardcore scenes. While ranking them is kind of subjective, I said, give me your best top 10 from Ed Rose. Come on, what are the goods? Well, if you worked with the Get Up Kids, number one on the list has got to be the Get Up Kids, Something to Write Home About, which I love. And that's a cornerstone of the emo genre. Lush production and raw emotion. Motion City Soundtrack's record, I Am the Movie from 2003. Was their breakout album that blended synth pop with emotional storytelling. The Appleseed Cast's Low Level Owl Volume 1 and 2 from 2001. It was an ambitious atmospheric double album that pushed emo into post-rock territory. He recorded Colesk's Functioning on Impatience record from 1998. It was a brutal, tight, mathy, post-hardcore record that helped define the genre sound. I need to listen to that. That's standing out to me. The Casket Lottery, Choose Bronze, the record from 1999. The Casket Lottery it's kind of, to say that they have a similar sound to Small Brown Bike is tough because they have collaborated so much over the years, but I guess that's kind of a natural byproduct. So if you're familiar with the Casket Lottery, you could say you would understand Small Brown Bike, I guess. But yeah, Choose Bronze. Ed recorded that record in 99. That record is a melodic post-hardcore album with intricate arrangements and emotional depth. He obviously recorded Dead Reckoning. He also recorded the Get Up Kids On a Wire, which is kind of their moodier departure, not pop punk, more like feeling out what being kind of a on the edge indie type band would be like. I saw them. I saw the Get Up Kids on that tour, on the On a Wire tour. Recover opened for them, and it was at the Triple Rock. It was great. Absolutely great. Reggie and the Full Effect. The record Under the Tray from 2003. It's a fun, bizarre, and catchy record. It was a genre-hopping roller coaster. I don't know. I've never really listened to Reggie and the Full Effect, but they've been on the list. I need to check them out more. So the Get Up Kids singer Matt Pryor, he has a side project that's kind of like, Cursive, The Good Life for Tim Casher, the Get Up Kids, and the New Amsterdams. That's Matt Pryor. Para Toda Vida is his record from 2002 that he recorded there as well. And would you believe it or not, Ed Rose was responsible for a Piebald record. If it weren't for Venetian Blinds, it would be Curtains for Us All from 1999. And I thought that might be a head turner for a few people to think that you could connect a dot from Small Brown Bike to Piebald. Just kind of seemed like it was out there, but our circle really loves Piebald, and that record is particularly special. A lot more stripped down and raw compared to some of their later work. So there you go. Personal thank you to Ed Rose. You've done a good job, man. A lot of great records on that list. Of course, we got to discuss a little bit about No Idea. I'm just going to rip through this for people who haven't listened to any of the other episodes that talk about No Idea Records as a label. But they're an influential independent record label based in Gainesville, Florida, known for their pivotal role in punk, emo, and hardcore. They were founded in 1985 by Var Thielen and Ken Kofelt. It started, No Idea started as a fan scene, like a zine. They used to be like photocopied, not like newspapers, but like photocopied little books. And it was just some high school friends, and they transitioned it into a record label in 1988, and they started including a 7-inch with the zine. The first one, it was the 6th issue. They had a 7-inch by a band called the Doldrums, and that initially marked the band's the label's step into music production. And then they started releasing records, and they put out over 350 albums worldwide. They're known for fostering a distinct punk subgenre, often referred to as beard punk or beardcore, and it's characterized by emotionally charged, gritty punk rock with a DIY ethic. The label has been instrumental in promoting bands that blend punk with elements of emo, post-hardcore, and pop punk. Certainly can't list all of them, but some of the notable bands that No Idea has helped over the years: Hot Water Music, Against Me, The Alkaline Trio, Small Brown Bike, I Hate Myself, Defiance, Ohio, Dillinger 4, Planes Mistaken for Stars, Colesk, and Less Than Jake. Currently, they're on hiatus. They went on a hiatus in 2017, and it's remained partially active by releasing limited runs. They're still running their online store. People still they're celebrated as a label, and their commitment to the independent music scene. It's just things are slowing down. They're not cranking out records like they used to. I should note, huge music festival that's down there every fall around Halloween-ish. The fest this year is going to be the Fest 23. Good to note, 84 Tigers is going to be there. So you could see Small Brown Bike people doing their thing in public this year. It's a stacked lineup. I recently saw that Propagandhi had to drop out as the main headliner. They had to cancel all their U.S. shows this year. They didn't list why, but their Instagram just says, due to unforeseen circumstances beyond our control, can't come to America this year. Don't know what's going on. But it's worth your time to look up the Fest 23 lineup, just for the sake of knowing who's going to be there. And I haven't been before, and I can't go this year, and I don't think I can go next year, but we're talking about a 2-year plan for me to finally go to the fest, because I wanted to go for a long time. And 2 years from now, if they still do it, it should be their 25th anniversary. I think that 25th anniversary, silver anniversary, right? Good reason for a lot of bands to reunite for a special one-time set type of thing. It could be a really crazy year to go. But it is in Gainesville. And just the one thing I want to throw out there for everybody that could possibly be listening to this that I have known from back in the day. I was reading the flyer for it. And Cadillac Blindside's going to be at the fest this year. I don't know why. I don't know what that means. I don't know. We saw Cadillac Blindside at the Ascot Room at the Quest at the record release party for these Liquid Lungs, and they broke up after the show. To my knowledge, they haven't played since. That was 2002, 2003. It's been 20 years, 22 years, and they're going to be at the fest this year. Their name's on the flyer, man. I don't know what to tell you about that. I got to dig in deeper, but I was blown away. I'm reading through it. I'm like, a lot of great bands, would love to go. Yeah, 84 Tigers, heck yeah, I would love to see them. I saw Cadillac Blindside just right in the middle of the flyer, and I'm just like, oh yeah, you can just throw Cadillac Blindside's name on there. That's no big deal. That's fine. I guess you just do whatever you want, because you're the fest, and you just, you run the scene. It's fine. But anyways, I was getting us back on track. I was curious, just in particular, is there any information that can help me figure out why a band from Marshall, Michigan ends up on No Idea Records in Florida. Seemed like a weird thing to me. And it says that Small Brown Bike's connection to No Idea Records was a natural one forged by the shared ethics of the underground punk scene. Here's how it unfolded. Number 1, regional connections. Small Brown Bike was formed in Marshall, Michigan in the late 90s. No Idea was based in Gainesville, but they were both very much a part of the DIY punk scene that was connecting bands through tours, fanzines, and mutual respect in the underground scene. Many bands supported each other in other small venues and by word of mouth, with No Idea's reputation for releasing passionate, raw punk helped attract bands like Small Brown Bike. 2, there was a shared scene. So the label already had worked with punk bands like Hot Water Music, Against Me, and Coalesce, and they were connected to other similar emotional sounding bands that Small Brown Bike embodied. The bands often played the same tours, so they crossed paths on the road, strengthening their bonds within the scene. Number 3, the album release intent, or interest. So Small Brown Bike was already gaining recognition for their early releases, and No Idea took notice of their powerful sound and emotional intensity. The band's first full-length, Our Own Wars, which came out in '99, was a splash in the Midwest emo scene, and they were looking for a label that could match that passion and ethics. Working together, number 4, the relationship blossomed organically as Small Brown Bike began to record for No Idea, leading to their highly acclaimed album Dead Reckoning, which helped solidify their place in the post-hardcore and emo scene. The label's commitment to emotional and raw punk was a perfect fit for the band's style, and No Idea offered them the platform to expand their audience. The mutual respect and shared dedication to authentic DIY music created a perfect alignment between Small Brown Bike and No Idea Records, which resulted in a fruitful partnership. So, I was curious as far as pressings goes, what issue of this one I have. So it's a good opportunity to break it open. I wanted to leave the plastic on this time because I just thought that it was funny. A lot of LPs, at least they used to, they're not doing it anymore, but they used to come with these download codes, and No Idea wrote brown load code because it's Small Brown Bike. Val's funny. It's good stuff. In my understanding, Ben did all of the photography and the layout and stuff like that. He does, it says it in the liner note, which it has an insert that's got some live pictures on it on one side, and then on the other side it's got like some art on it, and it's got all the lyrics. There's a poem on one side from Edgar Lee Masters, which we are going to dig into that too. It's kind of funny because I thought this was going to be one of the shortest episodes that I've done, because I was like, this is a lot more obscure. There's probably a lot less information I'm going to be able to get about Small Brown Bike than I could get about any of these other bands or any of these other records I've looked into. It's a thick stack of information. I've been on this for, I know I've already killed an hour, and it's like, maybe I'm halfway. I mean, this is like, I found a lot of really cool stuff, and I didn't skimp on it. So, but yeah, the layout design and the photography was all done by Ben. And I guess it kind of makes sense. It's like a boat with the navigating type stuff. Now that we know what Dead Reckoning means, now the artwork starts to kind of come together, and being from Michigan, being on Lake Michigan, stuff like that, it all kind of adds up. Track listing on the back in silver. The No Idea at the bottom is really nice. And what I love about No Idea was like the first label that when I would get records from them, they'd come in color. And I've talked a little bit about how they probably get their records from United, because United does this recycled vinyl for the same price as black thing. So you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. And if you get, like when we got the Weather Check 7 inches for Discmill Records, well, most of them were pretty purple, but some of them were kind of reddish purple, and some of them were kind of more Vikings purple. And then we got like 12 black ones. And we had some wild colors in between. And so we categorized them. And I think No Idea does the same thing. Mine is brown, but it's not just brown. If you look in it with the lighting, it's kind of hard to see on this camera, but it's got black spots in it, like black swirls, but it's brown. It's a small brown bike record, and it's brown. And that just, there's something about that really made me kind of happy when I finally picked it up on vinyl, which it took me a few years. Like I said, I bought it on CD initially, but got it on vinyl when I started filling out my collection because, life kind of settled down a little bit. Was able to fill some gaps and this was one of those bands that I have collected just about everything, and the pieces I don't have are not very many left. I've managed to get most of what they have put out on vinyl now. And I've even got the No Place Like You 7-inch from what did I say earlier, 96? Something like that. It's crazy. But yeah, beautiful packaging that No Idea does. And so their first pressing, they did 600 gray, they did 600 blue transparent, they did 600 white, and they did 200 that were a yellow-pink split. Cool enough. Subsequent pressings. 2007, they did 200 in clear green, 200 in opaque orange. 2008, just 200 copies in a mixed gray, which with that cover, mixed gray would be perfect. 2009, gray mix with white, blank white labels. That's pretty weird. 2011, they did not have quantities, but they did split blue and white and a turquoise kind of mix. 2014, they did a red translucent marble with and a pink marble, but the quantities weren't specified. 2017, this one's mine. 2017, they call it French Brown. There's only 160 copies of it. I don't know if anybody cares, but I do. They also, in 2017, did 185 copies in Coke Bottle Clear. And then recently, they've done some reissues of it where they've done silver and blue splatter. There's 116 of those you could snag. They did 220 that are just silver, and then they did 350 that were straight up black. The yellow and pink split color from the first pressing is particularly rare. They only have 200 copies. People really are after those. And the silver and blue splatter variant with only 116, people are after those too. You can go on Discogs and see what's available as far as the reissues goes. And I talk about Discogs a lot, but I thought that it was about time because I don't think that we have actually discussed what Discogs is. I said, Greg, help these people out. Tell them what Discogs is for the normies. Okay. So if you're interested in requiring specific pressings, platforms like Discogs have listings from various sellers. You keep in mind the prices can vary based on rarity and the condition of the record. But Discogs is like a super organized online library and a marketplace for music lovers, especially for people who collect vinyl, CDs, and cassettes. A quick breakdown for the normies, okay? It's a music database. It has info on pretty much every album ever released, different editions, track lists, release dates, cover art, etc. It's great if you want to know the difference between, say, a 2001 pressing and a 2017 reissue. The marketplace, so people can buy and sell music through the site. If you're hunting down a specific rare pink vinyl pressing of Dead Reckoning, there's a good chance somebody's selling it on there. There's also a collection tracker. Users can make a virtual shelf of what they own or what they want to own. And it's like having a music collector's version of Goodreads or Letterboxd. My little brother uploaded his entire Discogs catalog. I have had mine up for years. And so we were able to trade links. Now I don't got to worry it come Christmas time. I search for a record in his collection. I know he's already got it. I make sure I get him something he doesn't already have. It's pretty good stuff. Pricing guides too. You can see what an album recently sold for, so you can know if you're getting a fair deal or if somebody's trying to rip you off when you're shopping for records. I use it when I'm in stores all the time. So, that's my little 101 on what Discogs is. Next kind of fun fact thing to dive into for Dead Reckoning is that Dead Reckoning has got some guest vocal appearances on it. I found these in the liner notes. Nathan Ellis from the Casket Lottery does additional vocals on See You in Hell. And This Ship Will Burn features David Lukasik and David Arter. They appear courtesy of Skeleton DMD. And there's spoken word on The Ship Will Burn by Michael Gard. He also appears courtesy of Skeleton DMD. So, Greg, do your thing. Tell us who the Casket Lottery is. The Casket Lottery is an American indie rock band from Kansas City, Missouri, founded in 1997. The band was founded by Nathan Ellis, who plays guitar and sings, and Stacy Hilt, who plays bass. Both former members of the hardcore band Coalesce. They were later joined by the drummer Nathan Richardson. The Casket Lottery is known for blending elements of emo, indie, and post-hardcore, creating a sound that characterized by melodic guitar work, emotionally charged lyrics, and dynamic song structures. I did not realize those guys were in Coalesce. So, what happened there? Because they're all kind of still in the same circles, but for some reason, those guys were in Coalesce, and then they aren't. That's for another time. The band's discography includes several studio albums. Choose Bronze came out in 1999. Moving Mountains came out in 2000. Survival is for Cowards in 2002. And then Real Fear in 2012. And Short Songs for End Times, which just came out in 2020. They've released numerous EPs and splits, like their collaboration split with Hot Water Music. Oh, with Small Brown Bike. Oh, with collaborating with bands like Small Brown Bike and Hot Water Music. I knew they did one with Small Brown Bike, but I didn't know they did one with Hot Water Music. I'm going to have to look into that. After a hiatus in the mid-2000s, the Casket Lottery united and continued to produce music with their most recent activity, including signing to Iodine Recordings in April of 2025. That just happened. So we should look forward to more Casket Lottery stuff on a new label. Iodine Recordings. Who are those nerds? Anyway, Skeleton DMD. So these guys have come up over the years. And I know that our buddy Adam had one of their CDs, at least, possibly both of them, in high school. I bought a CD version of Dirt Riders 5-6 years ago, just because my memory got jogged and I ordered a copy of it on Discogs, right? But yeah, so many bands, you just forget about them. And then when I saw that there was guest vocals from Skeleton DMD, I was like, those guys contributed to Dead Reckoning? That wasn't on the tip of my mind. I guess I hadn't put that together. But who was Skeleton DMD? So they were a post-hardcore band from Kalamazoo, Michigan. And they were active primarily in the late 90s, early 2000s. Known for their intense, angular sound. And the band combined elements of hardcore punk with complex rhythms and emotionally charged vocals, drawing comparisons from the DC hardcore scene of the late 90s, or late 80s. Their discography is a bit shorter. They had a 7-inch called Possibly the World that they put out in 1999. Dirt Riders, 2002, and Body Double in 2003. And those two are just on CD. These releases show the band's raw energy and intricate compositions, cementing their place in the regional post-hardcore landscape. While Skeleton DMD may not have achieved widespread recognition, their contribution to the Midwest hardcore scene, including collaborations with bands like Small Brown Bike, reflect their significance with this tight-knit musical community. So they threw out a term there that it took me a really long time to define. And so I thought that I would define it for you guys so that I save you the legwork if you haven't already done it before. Angular guitars. You hear them say this about Cursive. You hear them say it about Small Brown Bike. Obviously, they just said it about Skeleton DMD. They say it about Fugazi a lot. And after hearing, honestly, Modest Mouse, there's a lot of bands that get this little word thrown out as if everybody knows what it means. And I had to look into it years ago to find out what it actually meant. An angular guitar, it refers to a style of guitar playing that features sharp, dissonant, or unexpected guitar rhythms or chord progressions. It often sounds kind of more jagged and tense or off-kilter as opposed to a smooth or melodic. I think of it as, instead of playing power chords, playing those kind of two-string where you're making different angles with that is another way that I think of it. When I hear angular, I'm thinking angles, but it is that, as well as a lot of things that are just kind of like dissonant. They're out there. They're not trying to play something straightforward, simple, and smooth. They're trying to play something that's jarring, getting your attention, and different. Here's what usually defines angular guitar work: abrupt chord changes or unusual intervals, staccato picking or choppy strumming patterns, offbeat rhythms or odd time signatures, dissonance, sometimes using minor seconds, tritones, or other clashing tones, or mathy or post-punk, post-hardcore type vibes if you're thinking like Fugazi, Shellac, or early At the Drive-In. In essence, angular guitar playing is often, it cuts across the groove instead of flowing with it, and it gives it more of a jarring, confrontational energy. It's perfect for genres that are thriving on tension and release. So yeah, you hear that a lot in Fugazi stuff where it's like they'll have like these strained chords that they'll just be building, and then all of a sudden they let it go, and then there's something more in the flow. And it's like, it's a very powerful technique. So there's your 101 on angular guitars. It's a weird word, and I don't like coming across terms and not knowing what they mean. And I'm not gonna, don't be that guy who uses them if you don't know what they're saying, you know? The next section, like I said, I wanted to get into this poem by Edgar Lee Masters because I did not realize it was on that liner's note, the insert of it. And I'm like, Small Brown Bike has a poem on the on the insert of the Dead Reckoning record. And I just, though I read the lyrics many times, I definitely did not, at least it didn't register with me that there was a poem there. And how many of these bands are we going to get into with this podcast where we find out that the writers are such big fans of poetry? And why am I surprised is the real problem. Like why am, I guess, I don't know. I guess just an area of study that I'm finding, because I definitely, I got the War All the Time book when we talked about it from the Thursday episode, Bukowski book of poetry. And now I have the Edgar Lee Masters book that this poem is in saved in my Thrift Books account, my cart there, because I want to collect them. Why not? But what it says, it reads, I have studied many times the marble which was chiseled for me, a boat with a furled sail at rest in the harbor. In truth, it pictures not my destination, but my life. For love was offered me, and I shrank from its disillusionment. Sorrow knocked at my door, but I was afraid, Ambition called to me, but I dreaded the chances. Yet all the while I hungered for meaning in my life. And now I know that we must lift the sail and catch the winds of destiny wherever they drive the boat. To put meaning in one's life may end in madness, but without meaning is the torture of restlessness and vague desire. It is a boat longing for a sea and yet afraid. Just like cuts to the core of you. It's just like, wow. And it really, like, when I read it the first time, before I added it to these notes, I was like thinking about The Boat by Chuck Reagan and how he may have drawn parallels from that too. And how they use that as a whole frame of dead reckoning and emotional turmoil. And it sounds like a whole lot of having to do what you got to do because you got to do it. And it just is what it is. You hear some people, I don't know if it's positive psychology or stoic or what it is, but I think of it as do it scared. You know, when they talk about being faced with a challenge, whether it's at work, with your family, or social thing, or a hobby even, you know, an interest, like an art form or a craft that you're trying to get better at or whatever. It's like there will become a point where you have something in front of you that scares you. And to shirk away from that, to shrivel away and to just, I should say, to shirk the responsibility of facing the challenge or to shrink away and hide and avoid it is certain death. And facing it is the only option. So what do? You do it scared. You're scared, but you do it anyway. And you, like he's saying, set your sails into wonder what'll happen. That's what it was like getting sober. For those who don't know, those who are still out there in the murky waters of the drink, when you put it down and you say this time it's for good, it's as if you boarded a new boat and you lifted the sails and you're like, anywhere but here. This is good stuff. So, who was Edgar Lee Masters? Edgar Lee Masters was an American poet, born 1868, died 1950. He was also an attorney and a biographer, and he was best known for his groundbreaking work, Spoon River Anthology, which he put out in 1915. And that's the book that I put in my card. I'll be reading that if you want to read along with what I'm reading these days. Spoon River Anthology. He was born in Garnett, Kansas, and Masters grew up in Lewiston and Petersburg, Illinois, small towns that are deeply influenced his literary themes. Spoon River Anthology is a collection of over 200 free verse epitaphs spoken by the deceased residents of the fictional town of Spoon River. Though through these monologues, Masters offers a candid and often critical portrayal of small-town American life, revealing the hidden struggles, secrets, and hypocrisies of its inhabitants. Beyond this seminal work, Masters was a prolific writer, publishing numerous volumes of poetry, plays, novels, and biographies, including those of Abraham Lincoln and Mark Twain. Despite his extensive body of work, Spoon River Anthology remains his most celebrated contribution to American literature. Masters' innovative approach to storytelling and his unflinching examination of societal norms have left a lasting impact on literary traditions, influencing both poetry and narrative forms in the 20th century and beyond. So I was curious about what that poem is too, because all I got from the liner notes is that it's an excerpt. And it is an excerpt from Spoon River Anthology. but it was the epitaph of a character, George Gray, who was one of the fictional residents of this town that he was kind of writing about. Masters wrote poetic monologues to give voice to the inner truths of people who in life they may have never truly understood. The lines you've found, the lines in it, they echo themes that resonate in Small Brown Bike's Dead Reckoning: regret, longing, hesitation, and the struggle for meaning in life in the face of fear. It's not surprising that the band chose to include this. Their music often feels like a rallying cry to live authentically and purposefully, even though it's painful or chaotic. The metaphor of the boat with the sail, representing a life not fully lived, hits especially hard in the context of punk and post-hardcore, especially with this album, which grapples with mortality, decisions, and direction. Including the poem ties the band's emotional urgency to a broader literary tradition. So let's take a deeper look at the poem and how it resonates with Dead Reckoning. Here's kind of a breakdown of the core themes of George Gray's epitaph and what's being echoed in Small Brown Bike's record. So he says, "I've studied many times the marble which was chiseled for me, a boat with a furled sail at rest in a harbor." There the speaker's reflecting on the image on his tombstone, a boat with its sail furled, symbolizing untapped potential or a life at rest. In truth, it pictures not my destination, but my life. He admits that the engraving doesn't mark the end of his journey, but in essence, how he lived, safe, cautious, and unmoved. For love was offered me, and I shrank from its disillusionment. He confesses to turning away from life's raw experiences, love, sorrow, ambition, out of fear. His life was a series of avoiding risks. And all the while, the next line is, all the while I hungered for meaning in my life. So despite that avoidance, there was always like this deep longing of an unfulfilled desire to matter and to feel and to live. To put meaning in one's life and to put meaning in one's life may end in madness. So he's recognizing that seeking meaning is risky and it may lead to pain or confusion. But life without meaning is torture of restlessness and vague desire. It is a boat longing for the sea and yet afraid. The metaphor becomes then the whole thing is complete. A life of comfort and avoidance leads to quiet torment, wanting to sail but never unfurling the sails. So how is that connected to Dead Reckoning? Just Greg's interpretations. See what it means to you. The track "The Vacuum" is full of tension and emptiness, echoing the idea of restlessness and vague desire. The speaker is circling the drain, aware of the pull, but too exhausted to resist it. Like George Gray, they're caught in that inertia. "See You in Hell," the rage in that song, might come from the same frustration that George Gray confesses to, recognizing that it's too late for the chances that he hasn't taken, and they hurt more than the failures might have, which is pretty profound too. Point number 3, the nautical metaphor from "The Ship Will Burn." It's a ship not resting but burning is possibly on purpose. It feels like a response to the poem, "Better to crash in the sea of meaning than die in the dock and be still." And then the title "Dead Reckoning" itself is a navigational term, plotting your own course by where you've been. It mirrors the poem's backward reflection. The band is reckoning with their direction, confronting fear, longing, purpose, and death, just like George Gray. It's brilliant how Small Brown Bike connects their urgent emotional music to literary reflections on existence, risk, and meaning in life. That excerpt from Edgar Lee Masters isn't just an authentic touch, but it sounds kind of like a full band mission statement. What could you do to define such a powerful mission statement for even just yourself, let alone your band? They set the bar so high. It feels like studying scholars compared to the power chords I usually play. It's wonderful, but it's deep stuff. If you really don't just say, yeah, okay, whatever, but you really take a strong look at these things. That's why I say, expected it to be the shortest episode. Might set a new record with this one, because these guys are it's just brilliant stuff. I am coming near the end, though. So, with that being said, it's usually a good time for me to point out some of the key lyrics that I really love. And it's hard with this record. This is a lot like how I felt when I did the Thursday episode with War All the Time, because I feel like I could read that record from front to back and just be like, the whole thing means a lot. Every word meant a lot. Dead Reckoning's a lot like that for me too, but I picked some especially important ones for me. And I started with one that used to bring up a conversation with me and Jake, actually, I remember. And some of the other Richards people might remember this conversation, because I'm sure Jake brought it up with other people. But It Will Bury Me With You, the closing track. What is it? Right? Great question. And I thought I knew back in the day when he asked me, because it's the closing track is called I Will Bury You in Me. I will bury you in me. But the lyric in the song is, it will bury me with you. Right? And I said, I thought it was love. I didn't necessarily have a great explanation of why, but I just thought, love will bury me with you. We'll stay together till the end. That was kind of how I interpreted it. But I'll read you the closing of the song, and then I think I got a better answer for him now. I think we're on a better track. So the song says, I am here for just a short time. You've been here for the stretch of my life. Please live through me. Now this tragedy becomes our reality to our family. I am here for just a short time. You've been gone for this stretch of my life. This small part of me counts down mathematically. It will bury me with you. I'm saying it is the passage of time. The lyrics convey a sense of time moving forward despite loss, with phrases like, this small part of me counts down mathematically, suggesting the inevitability of time ticking away. The speaker seems to be confronting that reality despite the grief of losing someone. Time continues to move and eventually lead to their own end as well. It's a reflection of how time, loss, and memory are interconnected. I'm saying it's the passage of time. It's got to be time. Can't be love. If you ever come up with a better answer, you got to let me know, but we try to decode it. Sleeping Weather, though, the song that the Richards had worked on and tried to play. I love the section when he says, this truth be known, I shouted in this song. My song to say, forget where I've gone wrong. Time's changed. I've changed. Now I feel like my life has changed. And it's just the way he delivers it that's so powerful that it's great to have a section of a song that you can really scream along with. And it's all about change. Things being different. I just love it. And then the last one that I picked was from This Ship Will Burn. And it's such a strong section. Ben, the bass player, just shouts this part. And I don't know if they played this when we saw him or not. I feel like it did, though, because I remember this line that it closes with really hitting me hard. And then now, being as, deep into and beyond so many situations in my past that I just would have let take me down forever, and yet I didn't. And it's like to have life on the other side of a crappy situation really makes you appreciate that steadfastness and that ability to observe things do fade with time. Mistakes don't have to define you forever, and you can reinvent yourself. You can be reborn. You can try again. The Ship Will Burn has a section where it says, "This ship will not overturn. These waves will not cool this burn. The sea will not swallow me. This past will not defeat me." And when he says that, it's just like, yeah, like you really, like you can't let your past defeat you. You can't let your past define you. You can't spend too much time working on and worrying about things that you can't do anything about, especially your past, because you screwed up. You screwed up. You owe it to yourself to have I'm trying to remember what Hot Water Music says in that opening track in Caution. But there's like a critical self-analysis. Yeah, that's what he says. And you should, but do it and then move on, and then don't do it again, but move on. Like really let yourself move on. Closing out here, we're going to talk a little bit about the tour. We've only got a little bit left as far as the notes go. We're just going to touch base on who they were with, where they were for promoting this record and such. So I saw Small Brown Bike with Cave In at the Ascot Room of the Quest in Minneapolis on September 28th, 2002. And I can't tell you how cool it is to be able to dial that date up, because, we couldn't do this back in the day. Just like when we went to that concert, we had printed out MapQuest. We didn't have GPS. And to be able to pinpoint the date was pretty cool. September 28th, 2002, all of us Richards, all four of us, went to the Ascot Room of the Quest and saw Cave In and Small Brown Bike. This show is part of a tour that also featured Sparta, according to their website. So why didn't we get to see Sparta? That's my big question, because according to the records online, we saw Sparta that night, but we all know we definitely did not see Sparta. But it's cool to know that they were tuning together at that time. What the heck? Sure, Cave In and Small Brown Bike were smaller-ish bands, but I thought it was a smaller tour. You realize that this show was a part of a bigger tour where they were both opening for Sparta. That would have been an even bigger show. I wanted to discuss a little bit too about the Quest, because we went to so many shows at the Quest and it's not around anymore, and I didn't know what happened to it. We talked about the Triple Rock last time, so why don't we talk about the Quest this time? The Ascot Room was a notable venue inside the Quest Club. It was upstairs. And they hosted various alternative and punk acts in that era. 2002 tour with Cave In and Small Brown Bike was significant, bringing together bands that were influential in the post-hardcore and indie scenes. According to Small Brown Bike's official tour, they played with Sparta and Cave In at the Ascot Room, but we know that's not true because Sparta wasn't there. Must have been I said, well, why wasn't Sparta there? And they said, there's nothing documented, but it's usually unforeseen circumstances such as an illness, travel delays, or scheduling conflict. There's no data. I feel like Sparta owes me an answer. But anyways, the Quest Club, Minneapolis. It was once a predominant venue for live music and nightlife. It closed in 2006 due to a combination of factors. The club faced licensing issues with the city and suffered some water damage from a rooftop fire. These challenges, coupled with a history of security problems, led to the closure. Yeah, security. Okay, I brought a backpack into that place every single time I went because I hated carrying merch and nobody ever checked it. And I know there was a big story in and around that time that Tech 9 played there and somebody got shot. And none of us were surprised. So, yeah, security problems, right? After its closure, the space underwent significant renovations and reopened as Epic, a venue focused primarily on concerts and special events. The transformation aimed to shed the Quest's troubled past and provide a fresh start for the location. I wonder if it's still open. I have not... Nobody trying to tell me to go see a band at Epic. It's never come up once. The Quest Club holds a special place in Minneapolis' music history and hosted numerous notable performances over the years. Its legacy continues to be remembered by fans and musicians alike. Okay, so that was just like... And I know Travis was there. So this was like post Dead Reckoning coming out. And Travis came back. But I think Dan Jaquint was out. And they had the other drummer. Regardless, there are pictures of Small Brown Bike and Cave In from that show because I used to bring disposables with me to shows. And I would just snap a few pictures. And those pictures are around. I'm going to be scanning them and posting them on the social media accounts for Midwest Nowhere as I get to it. So stay tuned for that because it'd be pretty cool for some of you guys from back in the day to see the Cave-In and Small Brown Bike pictures I have from this show. And a couple others. Not a whole lot, but a few more. But then I was like, okay, so what did the tour of like promoting this record look like? Small Brown Bike's tour promoting Dead Reckoning was a significant period in the band's history. It was marked by extensive touring, collaborations, and notable acts in the punk and post-hardcore scene. Early 2001, so they embarked on a series of shows to celebrate the release of Dead Reckoning. These performances had Cursive and the Casket Lottery on. So it was January 11th through the 16th. They were in Chicago, New York for 2 shows, Massachusetts and Philadelphia. They were instrumental in promoting the record and solidifying the band's presence in the post-hardcore scene. And then in March of 2001, they went on a U.S. tour with Hot Water Music and Leatherface. So following the release shows, Small Brown Bike joined a 5-week U.S. tour in March of 2001 with Hot Water Music and Leatherface. The tour expanded their reach and introduced their music to a broader audience. During this time, Jeff Gensterblum replaced Dan Jaquint on drums, making the lineup change coincide with the band's increasing momentum. Dead Reckoning, the Dead Reckoning tour period was a pivotal chapter for Small Brown Bike and showcased their dynamic performances and contributed to their lasting impact on the punk and hardcore genres. That was 20 pages of notes, people. We did a great job. Who would have thought I could possibly have that much to say about Dead Reckoning, but a lot of stuff. A lot of bands, a lot of jump off points. We talked about poetry. I mean, we talked about nautical stuff. Got into some terminology. I mean, this is just great. The thing is, the album is, it's just for me, growing up listening to it, having it memorized like I do, I put it on and it feels like, you put on some of these classic rock records and you're like, man, every song on this record's a hit. Yeah, and they are. And for me personally, I forget how much I love these records until, this podcast came up, and now I have this like intentional listening going on all the time. And I'm like, I put the headphones on and listen to this while I was mopping the house. And it's just like unbelievable how every song is just like so powerful. Great lyrics, great performances, powerful lyrics. I mean, I really love these guys a lot. And I hope they're all doing well. On that note, we're going to get to our what have I been listening to for the last couple weeks? And that's it, you guys. I don't know if we set a record or not, but we have to cross the 2-hour mark. So obviously in the last 2 weeks, I listened to Dead Reckoning about half a dozen times and fell back in love with it. And Small Brown Bike as a whole. Tracked down the Skeleton DMD records, listened to them on YouTube actually, just from some random uploads. Body Double and Dirt Riders, both. Still listening to Sleep Token, still getting jazzed to go see them in October. And they have a new single out. Their record must be dropping any minute. I know it was like 2 weeks away last time I checked. And Even in Arcadia is the name of the new one. And they had Emergence for the first single. And then Caramel. And now Democleus. Which Democleus is cool. I didn't know anything about anything because I don't know it very much. But I see weird words and now I look them up. And with Sleep Token's new single, Democleus, I looked up what the heck the word is. Because the first time you read the word, you're like, Damocles, whatever. And then you listen to it and he says, Democleus. It's like, okay, so what is that? The story is it's an old, it's a Greek story. Democleus was like in love with the king, like just glazing him all the time. Just thought he was like the greatest person ever, just wanted to be like him, just wanted to be him, couldn't love the king anymore. So what does he do? Yeah, well, the king says, oh, you think I got it so great? Why don't we trade seats for a day? So him and Democleus trade seats for a day. And he sees, when he's sitting on the king's throne, a sword above his head. And Democleus is like, what the heck is that all about? Is he a sword hanging above his throne as the king? That's kind of strange. The king tells him, he says, it's because you need to know that the higher you climb, the closer you get to the end, like you got to keep your eyes about you because the higher you climb, the more you make yourself a target, to eavesdroppers and cowens and liars, people who want to tear you down and whatever. And it's a very small part of the song that they even mention it. He's just like, he just says the name. I can't even remember what the context is, but it gave me enough of a reason to look it up, and I thought that story was very cool. And Sleep Token is this so much fun depth of just things to look into and things to listen to and things to try to wrap your head around. It's a lot of fun. I really still got a lot of juice to squeeze out of Sleep Token. It's just still a graphic novel I haven't downloaded yet. So keep digging on those guys. But I picked up a record in the last couple weeks. We went to the, what's it called? Chanhassen Dinner Theater. My wife's birthday. Took her there, got food and the show. And we saw Grease. After the show, we went to Cheapo in Blaine. We went to the Minneapolis one. That's right. We went to the Minneapolis one this time. And so now we've been to all three. So the St. Paul one was kind of small and kind of, I don't know, just crowded and kind of tough to get to. The Blaine one is like out in the middle of nowhere. And the selection's good enough, but it's just kind of, I don't know, you're in the burbs, like it is what it is. And the one in Minneapolis, tricky to get out of, not bad to get into. Pretty big place though for being in Minneapolis. Like that's a pretty big box store for records, and great cassette section, whatever. And so I mean, I was finding tons of stuff that I would take home. Don't get me wrong, but I found their section of their new arrivals that are like records that they've recently bought, so they could be. Well, they're mostly used, but some could be new. You just don't know what's going to be in there. I found a 10-inch copy of the Cold War Kids 5 Quick Cuts in good condition for $7. Couldn't beat it. Couldn't beat it. It's a Record Store Day exclusive, which I know we talked about Record Store Day. And you know what? If I'm buying them used for cheap, I feel like I won. I just felt like I won. And it's great. It's experimental. It's weird. It's still, though, good songwriting, great delivery, and it's got some good bopping dancing parts like you got to have from the Cold War Kids, because that's just what they do. And, yeah, so that was a good pickup. Jeff Rickley's mixtape number 1 from his Bandcamp page, I downloaded that and burned myself a copy, and burned a copy for the guys in the... in Swenoda too. It's really like, it's experimental and it's weird, and it starts off weird and it gets even weirder, and it's only like 7 tracks long, but by the time you get to the 3rd, 4th track, it starts to get a little bit normal and a little bit more like digestible, kind of just acoustic and vocal, and like a little bit more focused, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it a lot. I think it sounds like, I equated it to a lot of the stuff that like Benno does, because he's got like a setup at home and he likes to experiment with a lot of different things that he finds and stuff like that. And I was like, Jeff is kind of doing a similar thing here. It sounded really good. I enjoyed it. And there's a second one that I haven't pushed play yet on, but it's there, and it's on my list. I listened to I Hate Myself, their record 10 Songs. No Idea pushes them more than anybody else, and I don't know why, because I don't know who they are. And then I go on Spotify and I see they have 84,000 monthly listeners, and I'm like, what? There's so many bands that I'm aware of and fans of and stuff like that I don't see them getting 84,000 listeners. And yet some record, some band, they call it I Hate Myself, and it's just 10 songs. But I pushed play on it, and I listened to that thing like 3 times before I was really done like making up my mind about it. And what I found out about it was that it was like the emotional dynamic post-punk kind of beginning phases of that style of music that I just never knew existed. I listened to all the stuff that was inspired by that, but I didn't realize how pivotal and how important that record was to people who I listened to. So it was like a next layer kind of thing. I equated it to like listening to Joy Division now, finally, because I listen to so many people who are influenced by Joy Division that's like, why aren't you just getting it straight from the beef, right? Well, if you like really, emotionally driven, dynamic music, like real quiet, real loud type, where there's those big changes and stuff like that, you gotta listen to I Hate Myself. You have to get to know that record just enough, like at least spin it, a few times to like, you'll be, I think, off-put in thinking that it's like kind of a whatever the first, time you get like halfway through it. But by the second time, it's like, it grows on you, and it is cool. I feel like I should probably put it in my stack just to remember that it's there, because I don't feel like it's a record I should let get lost in it, and it could. But I thought it was really great. Kaylin sent me DeGausser by Brand New because she's looking at, we're going to see them in June. I just put my vacation time in for June, the 19th and 20th. We're going to get up super early. We're going to drive all the way to Chicago. We're going to sleep for a couple hours. We're going to go see Brand New. We're going to crash at the hotel. We're going to get up super early and drive all the way back the next day. It's going to be an adventure. But in the middle of it, we're going to see Brand New, which we never thought would happen. So that's a very cool deal. But she's thinking about making some shirts just to kind of be a fan nerd for the show. And there's a line, I love you so much it makes my head hurt. Yeah. Oh no, I love you so much that it hurts my head, is what he says towards the end of that song. And I was like, what are you talking about, when she had that quote on the shirt design she was working on. She sent it to me, and as soon as the song started playing, I was like, oh, I'm dumb. Like, I know this song. It's from The Devil and God Are Still Raging, or The Devil and God Are Raging Inside of Me. So check that out. I finally listened to Cursive's newest record, Devour. It just came out in the fall, and I don't know why it took me so long to get around to checking it out, but just a kind of overall impression. It's got, when it comes to Cursive, a little bit of everything. It's got some angular, angsty stuff. It's got some real chill, real pretty parts. It's got some parts that are just kind of boring. It's got some parts that are real just heartbreakers. And strings are back, but horns are still there. Because, like, we had the strings forever, and then we lost the strings, and then Happy Hollow came, and we got horns, and now they're both there. And it's like an orchestra of Cursive. And it's great. It's great. It's all there. And I just listened to the whole thing, and it's really, it's a great record. I like Devourer. I listened to The Great Sea Serpents Rise Again. Like I said, I finally found it on Bandcamp, and I kind of described for you earlier what I thought of that one. But you Swenoda guys, take notice, because I'll probably be bringing you a copy of that one. I was very, very excited to find it after so many years of not even being able to find out if they ever recorded anything. And here it's just in there on Bandcamp, like it's just hanging out. No big deal. I found a copy of a tape. It's Roy Orbison's Mystery Girl. And I had it. I found it in my garage. I don't know where it came from, but it has a sticker on it that looks like I bought it at a garage sale at one point, but I don't remember where I got it or why. And I don't know anything about Roy Orbison, or at least I didn't. But I got my station wagon back that has the tape deck in it, so I put it in, and obviously, you got it is the opening track. Anything you want, you got it. Anything you need, you got it, baby. It's great, and the whole record goes on like that, and it's just awesome. And I'm like getting to like my second time around on that cassette, not taking it out, and I'm like, this thing is awesome. Like, I don't know anything about Roy Orbison, but he sounds like Elvis, so that's a thing, right? So, in listening to, we had to take the kids on a big dentist trip, all four of them, to the dentist. Like, this morning was the day that we had to do it was just miserable. But we, on the way there and on the way back, listening to tunes, and so I put Roy Orbison on, and I put the Mystery Girl record on, and after getting about halfway through it, I put his top hits on, and I was like, because you hear Pretty Woman, then you're like, okay, and then you hear some of the other ones, like Roy Orbison did have a lot of hits. Kaylin's like reading on him, she's like, yeah, and he was like Elvis light, like people liked him, but he was like picked up by a different label. He was marketed the same way, and he was meant to be like Coke, Pepsi, Elvis Orbison. It's like they were like these, and it shows for sure. She told me that he died on the toilet, just like I had a heart attack on the toilet, just like Elvis did. And I still think she's lying. I didn't look it up, but I mean, I think that's crazy. But in listening to a bunch of Orbison, I was like, there's something about this production that's real familiar. And so in the middle of it, I abruptly stopped, and I put on False Advertising by Bright Eyes. off of the Lifted record. And that's the thing. It's like now that song makes sense because it's like it was that total 70s like strings and orchestra and timpanis and wood blocks and like this whole thing. And it's just like, oh, okay. So he was like throwing a nod to that style. It's just, I don't know, kind of blew my mind how well the production of that song fit in the midst of 40 minutes of listening to Roy Orbison. It's like just right in the middle of it, just throwing a Bright Eyes song in and it works. That was really weird. But then, yeah, on the way back from that, then I'm like, well, we just spent all this time listening to Orbison, so we got to listen to Elvis. So we listened to a bunch of just the top hits of Elvis. And after getting burnt out on that, we did top hits of Johnny Cash too, and just kind of had a good time reminiscing on that because I know I grew up, my friends all listened to punk. It was like all punk music and then Johnny Cash. He was like the one guy that like stood out. And I said, like, I don't know if it's because we all were Jackass fans and they would put Johnny Cash on like Jackass videos or whatever, but for some reason, like whenever we'd be out like raising hell, we were either listening to like punk or we were listening to Johnny Cash. That was just kind of the scene that we had amongst ourselves. And my wife said she didn't grow up around here. She grew up, between Oregon and like the Bird Island area, Olivia, Buffalo Lake, that whole area. And she's like, that was like us too. Like Johnny Cash was like they didn't listen to punk. Like they listened to a lot of different things. But she said Johnny Cash was like a mainstay. Like that was one that like everybody liked it. It's like, it's crazy because the music's like at that time 40, 50 years old. But we loved it. I guess it's just omnipresent, I've listened to Toto 4 about 6 or 7 times now. I can't get enough of it. I need an original pressing of it, and I need it on cassette too. Because I don't know why, but for some reason it was just like a lightning bolt came to me where I was like, I gotta find out what record Africa's on. It's like, oh, it's on Toto 4. And Toto 4 opens with Rosanna. What the heck? Like, so it opens with Rosanna, it closes with Africa, and everything in between is just awesome. So that's what it's going to be. That's great. So I can't stop listening to Toto 4. On the way back from a grocery trip with my wife, finally listened to Bright Eyes, 5 Dice, All Threes. She thinks it sucks. I agree with her in parts. There was parts of it that really had me feeling like I'm so glad that he's still doing some of the things he's doing. And then some of the lyrics and some of the presentations and the delivery and stuff like that, I was just like, hold on, this guy, he's 45, man. He never had kids. He did skip everything. He's still doing the same early 20s thing. But he's been living in the early 20s for 20 years. Oh, he's sick. This isn't... I don't know how I feel about this. It was not quite as endearing as the new Cursive. I'm a bit worried about... I saw a thing that said Connor was getting real drunk. And that they had to cancel the tour early because of health reasons. And then I saw that he wasn't getting better. But they were just going to be back out there soon. And I'm like, what's going on? It just feels... The whole thing kind of, to me, feels wrong. Lay it out there. Somebody be mad. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not happy about it. I want everybody to do well. But 5 Dice, All Threes is weird. Listen to the song Hate on that record. Tell me he isn't kind of like, what are you doing, man? He's a 45-year-old man talking about how much he hates this, he hates that, he hates that, he hates that. And it's like, it's supposed to be kitschy or something. It's supposed to be cute. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be clever. It's none of the above. It's just weird. It's just weird. But like I said, if you play it from the top, there's going to be moments where you're like, okay, He's here. He's with us. I just don't know. I didn't feel good listening to it. And that's not cool. Maybe it's a me problem. I didn't want to just shut it off. But I also I wasn't happy about it. Perhaps it'll grow on me. Perhaps he needs help. That's for real. Mike Reed, though, singer of Small Brown Bike, I didn't realize he made a record of his own, just under his own name. I knew about all these other little side projects, but I didn't realize that he put up something under his own name. Decades is the name of the album he released under his own name. And there's a song on there. I listened to the whole album. I loved it. It's wonderful. It is post-hardcore Small Brown Bike era in a mellow way and clear, good songwriting, good lyricists, explicit lyrics. No, it's just great lyrics, great presentation overall. The lap steel on it is beautiful. And the one song that jumped out in the middle for me that I had to share with a handful of people over the weekend was Windmills. Windmills, I am one of you. Oh, it's awesome. It really made me feel like everything was okay. Like I said, I revisited Cadillac Blindsides, these Liquid Lungs, just out of the fact that I'm so happy they're playing the fest. I can't be there. It's not, hey, whatever. I'm happy they're playing the fest. I would love to know how, what, where, and why, that whole story of what the heck's going on with those dudes, because I love them. Cadillac Blindside is just a very special band for me. And wrapping things up, the last 2 weeks, the last thing I listened to was the top plays on Spotify from The Arrivals. Because for some reason in my brain, I remembered that Todd from Toys That Kill said that he thought The Arrivals should be the biggest band in the world. And I remember loving The Arrivals, seeing them live once, real drunk somewhere in Minneapolis. But I couldn't remember anything about them to save my soul, so I just was like, I'm just going to put them on and just enjoy it. And they're Midwest pop punk to a T. They just nail it. They just nail it like Off With Their Heads does. They nail it like Banner Pilot and Dillinger 4 does. Like Toys That Kill does. They just nail it. The Arrivals are pro. And that's what I'm saying, though. Monthly listeners, The Arrivals, 5,000. I hate myself. 84,000 people? It didn't make sense to me. Most of it doesn't. Most of it doesn't have to. But it is what it is. That's going to be a wrap for me on my Small Brown Bike Dead Reckoning episode. That was a heck of a journey. It's been a lot of good stuff going on personally with projects and stuff like that. A lot of really great things to learn about this record. We found a new American poet, which maybe some of you knew who that was, but I don't know nothing about American poetry, and especially turn of the century American poetry. 1915 that poem was published. Get out of Dodge, man. That's super cool. And like I say, I felt like it got scholarly with this one. And I really appreciate all the effort they put into it, all the heart and soul that they put into this work, because they give a person like me a lot to dive into, a lot to enjoy, not just in this one record, but in the whole network of these other bands, these writers, this imagery. And that just stems from one record. What are we going to find out when we get into the riverbed? Our Own Wars, Fell and Found. I just believe that they put just as much love and effort into all of it. So they take the craft seriously, the genuine, authentic, musicians. So, with that being said, next episode is my 10th episode, which, I didn't know how far I was going to go. I said I was going to start with 10 and we'll see where it goes. I'm having a lot of fun. And I was getting a little bit tired. And then the research for this episode reinvigorated everything for me because I just couldn't believe how much information I was able to pull from this great record. And so I've planned through 20 already. And so next week, or 2 weeks from now, we'll be talking about, I figured episode 1 was forever and counting. We were talking early hot water music. Let's go a little mid-century hot water music, if you want to call it that, with caution. The record that came out on my birthday when I was, I believe, in 9th grade. We'll find out that release date and a whole lot more next episode of the Midwest Nowhere podcast. Thank you.